Hello and welcome to another episode of Love Aptitude Tests. Tonight's topic, the history of hazing culture in America. The history of hazing culture in America is a complex story rooted in traditions of initiation, power dynamics, masculinity, secrecy, and institutional complicity. Hazing has evolved over centuries, beginning as a form of bonding and initiation, and in many cases morphing into abusive rituals with deadly consequences. Let's break it down further. Hazing in America can trace its roots to European traditions of apprenticeships and military training, where initiations were common. When these practices crossed the Atlantic, they merged with American ideals of rugged individualism, masculine proven, and group loyalty. During the 19th century and the 1800s, the rise of college fraternities marked the institutionalization of hazing in the U.S. fraternities, like Phi Beta Kappa, originally intellectual societies, which gave way to more secretive and exclusive organizations that relied on rituals to bond members and test loyalty. Hazing rituals range from physical challenges to psychological humiliation. Institutions like West Point had hazing rituals, sometimes called plebe systems, by the early 1800s. They were seen as rites of passage to toughen young cadets. Similarly, athletic teams began to embrace hazing as a way to foster team unity and ensure newcomers earned their place. By the 20th century, hazing was deeply embedded in American institutional life. For example, fraternities and sororities. As Greek life flourished across American universities, hazing became an expected, though often secretive, part of pledging. It included acts ranging from harmless pranks to dangerous physical abuse, and was often justified as a means of creating strong bonds amongst members. Another example, high schools and sports teams. Hazing extended into high schools and youth sports by mid-century. Coaches and older players sometimes encouraged these rituals under the belief they built character or tradition. And lastly, race and gender dynamics. Hazing practices were also shaped by race and gender. In historically Black Greek letter organizations, hazing took on unique cultural meanings, both as resistance and replication of oppression. However, it also mirrored hierarchies and sometimes led to serious harm. For women, hazing in sororities often focused more on emotional or appearance-based humiliation. By the 1970s and 80s, hazing had become increasingly scrutinized due to injuries and fatalities. An example, landmark cases, a series of high-profile deaths, such as the 1978 death of Chuck Stenzel, which was a hazing documentary titled Haze, which was based on his story. It led to public outcry. Families of victims began campaigning for anti-hazing legislation. Media and documentation. Investigative journalism, books, and documentaries started exposing the darker side of hazing, pushing the conversation from boys will be boys to questions of accountability and abuse. And lastly, legal repercussions. By the 90s, many states had enacted anti-hazing laws. Colleges began implementing strict policies, though enforcement remained inconsistent. Despite laws and awareness campaigns, hazing persists in many institutions. Deaths of students like Timothy Piazza in Penn State in 2017, and Stone Fultz in Bowling Green in 2021 reignited national outrage and calls for reform. Social media has made it harder to keep hazing hidden. Videos and first-hand accounts have surfaced, but in some cases, they also feed into the culture of virality and spectacle. Some universities have banned Greek life or disbanded problematic chapters. Others focus on education and new member programs that try to preserve tradition without violence. There is growing rejection of hazing among younger generations, who are more likely to speak out against abuse. However, resistance still exists, especially in spaces where hazing is seen as a legacy or rite of passage. In conclusion, hazing culture in America is not just about extreme rituals. It reflects deeper issues of power, conformity, group identity, and institutional responsibility. Its persistence, despite legal and cultural backlash, shows the challenge of dismantling traditions that are embedded in ideas of masculinity, loyalty, and prestige. Today, activists, educators, and survivors continue to push for change while navigating the tension between tradition and transformations.